G'day budgies and wudgies and welcome back to the channel. This week has been one of the worst weeks, if not probably the worst week in the fish room that I've experienced thus far. Purely because I could have lost every single fish that I have in the 5-foot aquarium. There's just been a couple of disasters that have happened in that tank, and I wanted to talk you through what they were, what I've done to fix them, and how everything is doing now. Now, before we get into this video, as always, let's acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land and the people that are managing our land. But I say, we'll grab a seat, have a closer look at everything that's happened. So for those of you that don't know, the 5-foot aquarium behind me is the largest fish tank that I currently have in this fish room. It's also by far the easiest tank that I have to maintain. Even compared to my nano aquariums, this tank is a total breeze because I only do water changes on this system every 3 to 4 weeks, and I change out the filter floss once a week. And that means I can really just kick back, relax, and enjoy the fish in this tank. However, I have not been able to do that this week, and there's about $4,000 worth of fish in this tank, and I was concerned that I would end up losing each and every single one of them purely because of 2 pretty catastrophic equipment failures that happened. The first issue that I'll talk about is the failure of my return pump. Now, this 5-foot aquarium is filtered through an inbuilt sump filtration system. That basically means that all of the filtration is contained within this tank. It's almost like I've got an oversized internal power filter, but it's basically the width of the entire aquarium. And that's great because I don't have any equipment that you'll notice visibly on the back panel, like heaters or any hose going out of the tank. But it also means I need to rely on a return pump to complete the water cycle for my filtration. Basically, there are 2 weirs or intakes that will feed water through my mechanical filtration, then into my biological filtration where all my beneficial bacteria resides, then through my heaters, and finally that warm filtered water gets sent back into the main display. When that return pump isn't working, water isn't passing through my biological media, meaning they aren't getting fed, they aren't getting oxygenated or clean with the water that's being passed through. Also, the heaters are just going to be heating, that warm water is going to stay within that compartment, and it is not going into the main display. When I've got fish that need warm water and there is a dropping water temperature in this tank, that can lead to a whole range of problems. It could be something as minor as them just not feeding properly, or it could be something as catastrophic as them getting ick, or potentially even dropping their metabolism so much that they stop breathing and they end up dying. That's something I don't want. The only reason I was able to fix this problem so quickly is because I did have a spare pump on hand. But this pump is what I use to do my water changes with. And that means I'll chuck the pump in, it'll start pulling water out and sending it into my back garden. And this is much faster, especially on a tank of this size, compared to your conventional gravity-fed siphon. I can do a water change with that pump within about 10 minutes, whereas a gravity-fed siphon might take about 40 minutes. So that pump is quite vital, and I no longer have it because now it's running the inbuilt sump filtration on this tank. Luckily, I've got a brand new pump arriving tomorrow that I purchased online. Now, the whole reason this problem happened comes down to my complacency. These sorts of return pumps, especially the one that I'm using, is not of any high brand. It's not an Ecotech or Seache pump where I'd be comfortable letting it run for the duration that it has. This is a BioPro pump, and there's nothing wrong with the pump. I would definitely buy one again. In fact, that's what I've done to get as a replacement. However, it's just not designed to be running for 5 or 6 years continuously without any wear and tear. If anything, I should have replaced the pump on this tank after the 3rd or 4th year. Letting it run for almost 5 years is definitely a problem on my end, and that's something I should have fixed much earlier. And that brings us into the second problem, which was also an issue of complacency, but this was a lot worse. So the return pump failure happened on a Monday morning. Everything was fine up until a Wednesday, but when I walked into the fish room, I noticed that all the fish were acting a little bit weird in the 5-foot tank. They usually come up to the glass to go ahead and greet me, but the pink-tailed Chalceus were all huddled up in a corner. They were skittish as hell. The second I walked up near the tank, they just darted across the other side, and so were the discus. They were also very skittish, and I thought, all right, maybe I opened the door, one of the discus got freaked out, and it's now just upset everyone in the tank. But then I started to hear some bubbling and almost like steam noises over the next 1 to 2 hours that I was in this room. And when I went into the filtration system to have a look, I noticed this. I'll actually play the footage that I managed to capture then. So I thought to film this just so there's a log of what's going on, and I'm fairly certain I know what the problem is with the 5 foot. Another problem this week, which is just, it's been absolutely nuts to be dealing with. Just so much paranoia, but if I flip this around for you. Oh, why is the flash on? Have a look to see what's going on here. I am so lucky I discovered this at the source. I've been literally pulling out. Oh, God. Did that... What just... Where's the glass? Look at that. Oh, my God. Alright, let's... Hopefully there's... Oh, you know what? I'm really not prepared for this. And so yeah, you'll see just how bad the situation was. One of the heaters had cracked in half. Now this happens when water enters a heater through a leak, the water starts boiling within the heater and the glass cracks or it explodes. And this is really bad for a few reasons. One, the heaters are basically an electrical component. They're closed and sealed by glass. If that glass isn't there, that stray electrical current of a 300 watt heater is now exposed directly to the aquarium. And that could electrocute the fish within literally a minute or less. Like just like that, all the fish in this tank would be toast. And I would have witnessed it firsthand and there would have been nothing that I could do because one, it's a danger to the fish, and two, it's a really big danger to me. If I'm not around, I can't look after them. So yeah, it was just an incredibly terrible situation. I unplugged the heater, made sure that everything was fine. I took it out and immediately threw it in the bin. I then noticed that the other heater was not turning on. This tank needs to be kept at 28 to 30 degrees. The discus really need warm water. Everyone else probably would prefer anything above 26. But over the past couple of days in Melbourne, we've had some pretty cool temperatures. And that meant the water temperature was at about 22 degrees. And I was panicking because I, for one, did not have a spare heater. And two, the water temperature was incredibly low. So basically, I had nothing to do. I didn't have any pump to do a spare water change on to send warm water into the tank. The water temperature wasn't good, and there quite literally wasn't anything I could do. There wasn't any spare heaters, so I had to see if I could run to an aquarium store and get one. But by then, I quickly jumped onto a couple of online websites to see who could potentially ship the fastest. I then went onto petcircle.com, and this isn't sponsored by PetCircle in any way, shape, or form. I'm not affiliated with them. I did purchase heaters, and I purchased them full price, but I really just wanted to give them a massive shout out in this situation because of how amazing they were, just with their customer service and just their prices and everything like that. I ended up purchasing 4 Bioscape heaters. I purchased 2 300 watt heaters and I purchased 2 200 watt heaters, just so I never run into this problem again. I've got redundancies and further redundancies. Now, I purchased the heaters on a Wednesday afternoon, like a late Wednesday afternoon, because I was panicking. The heaters arrived on a Thursday morning, and the tank temperature thankfully was stable at that point. It was about 23 to 24 degrees, still not ideal for the discus, but had I have kept them any longer in that lower temperature, we would have had some problem. But yeah, crisis averted, all the fish are fine. Neo, my Australian lungfish, all the discus, pink-tailed chalceus, catfish, everyone's doing fine, didn't lose a single fish. But it just goes to show, please, check up on your equipment. I should not have gone through this problem had I have checked up on my equipment. These glass heaters should not be running for more than 3 years. They should be replaced. That's why they have a 2 to 3 year warranty. After that, the manufacturer isn't liable for any problems, which is why they have that. What I'd recommend for you bodgies and widgies to do this weekend, go around to all your tanks, check out the equipment you're running, and if there's anything in there that's been running, like your heater or any return pumps, check them out, and if you think it's probably time to replace them, you should definitely replace them. That's my learning lesson, and I wanted to share this with you as well. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, stay happy, stay safe, stay Aussie Australian, bodgy,